Okey, baik. Sekarang ni kita buka pada soalan, pandangan, tak payah protokol banyak-banyak. Semua orang tahu saya PM, pengusi cukup. Pengusi dan tanya masing-masing untuk minta pandangan yang lain. Sila, ya. Ya.
Selamat malam, nama saya ialah Warren dan saya merupakan wakil kepada syarikat startup kerana dalam kumpulan WhatsApp kami ada lebih kurang 500 startup daripada Malaysia. Dan saya juga merupakan seorang bekas ahli bebas Made for IRM tahun lepas. Apa yang saya cadangkan di sini, jika dengan izin, kalau saya boleh memetik beberapa perkataan berkenaan dengan transformasi syarikat, daya cipta dan seterusnya. Sebenarnya, a lot of the innovation actually comes from smaller companies. Large companies struggle to come up with really new innovative products because of the structure of how they are set up. My suggestion is, memang baik sekiranya Glik boleh memainkan peranan untuk melabur dalam syarikat teknologi untuk meningkatkan daya saing dan juga daya cipta Malaysia. Tetapi oleh sebab Yang Amat Berhormat juga merupakan Menteri Kewangan, maka cadangan saya yang ingin saya utarakan di sini ialah supaya kerajaan Malaysia juga boleh mewujudkan dasar supaya agensi-agensi ataupun kementerian masing-masing boleh digalakkan untuk membeli daripada syarikat-syarikat Malaysia, khususnya startup, kerana every single dollar of revenue increases the valuation of the company more than a single dollar of investment coming from Glik.
Right.
So there is one policy I would like to suggest for Yang Amat Berhormat to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Since the MOF is not presented as a panel member, no, anyway, I think give an opportunity to the panel to respond. We will look at it separately.
Terima kasih. Thank you for the question. Memang betul kalau kita buat macam the transformating of firms, the local companies. Memang kami sedar yang a lot of the innovation comes in from the smaller companies. So kita ada dua. Satu is the startups, mainly the startups, but we also focus on mid-tier companies. Now, what we find about the mid-tier companies is they innovate. They actually they compete. Yang kita cakap pasal Dr. Don cakap, the important thing is competition. So when they start competing for a bigger supplier, they get to a product which is quite good. Tapi what we find, however, is kebanyakan ni, if they're successful, then they're actually millionaires. Tapi dah complacent lah, so why grow for? So we actually have a program right now, and we call it MTC Innovation Program, where we help them to try new things, to innovate. It's just a way of thinking. It's basically an Amazon, how they help the vendors. They call it working backwards. We actually have that. We're actually encouraging people to do that. And at the same time, we're not investing ourselves. Kita bagi duit kepada the GPs, who will then invest, and we be part of that to actually sokong. So that program is what we're doing. The important thing here is, which we have to do, is to get the large companies to be able to focus more on buying local goods, which is like you were saying. However, they have to compete. Walaupun the companies are small companies, let's say they encourage the kerajaan ataupun big companies are encouraged to buy, you have to compete. The internal competition, just like what Dr. Nun cakap macam in China lah.
Ni untuk add ni.
Ya, Bapak Menteri, saya ada different pandangan. Pandangan saya ini, I know you will not agree, tetapi saya rasa, tapi saya cuba. cuba.
You please do.
Ya, cuba. Boleh tak buka balik slide Khazanah tadi?
Ini good. You nampak, this is how the cabinet works. Banyak benda kadang saya bagi pandangan, dia tak setuju, tapi dia bagi pandangan. It's very democratic.
Boleh buka Khazanah punya slide.
Jangan selalu lah.
Tak. We will make sure next term you still PM.
Ya. Slide.
Saya boleh kontrol slide Khazanah sekejap. Nak tengok. Because then I want to relate everyone have to share what I want to
Slide khazanah tadi.
say. Khazanah. Atau dah kena delete?
Anyway, proceed.
Okay, never mind. Okay, let's say, boleh pinjam sikit dia punya. Pinjam sekejap. No. Okay, this one. Okay, let's look at CIMB, Tenaga Nasional, TM, UEM, and all these are listed company. Of course, minus Astro lah. Dia pun dah tak berapa bagus lah. CIMB, Tenaga ni memang steady. CIMB, Tenaga, TM, ini semua bagus. Jadi saya punya pandangan, Yang Amat Berhormat PM, Khazanah ni bila dia nak buat apa-apa saya minta kerajaan duit. Jadi I think why don't we change this? Kalau you tengok ni total dia punya asset in 150 billion. Look at CIMB, very established bank. Tenaga Nasional, monopolistic business. TM, there. So dia orang ni semua listed. Khazanah pun bukan kontrol 51% pun. 30% ya, 28-29%. So there is a value there. This country need money to develop what you have said. You only a portion of it. There's many out there that we can build. Supply chain, food security, kita pasal medicines yang kita selalu import, yang banyak-banyak ni semua. There's a lot of people can do this, but entry barrier, risk, gambar di sini, kalau gambar pakai semua ni. Jadi apa saya punya cadangan? Go back to saya punya slide tadi. Slide saya tadi tu, dia ada 2 khazanah, slide ada. Sebab, saya punya pun dah kena delete. Okey, mana ada hilang lah. Okey. Dah tak ada.
Second slide.
First slide. Okey. Kalau kita tengok, Khazanah punya listed company tadi tu, yang successful give steady dividend. You talk to all this kita punya fund ni, KWSP, PNB, Tabung Haji, because these are all dividend paying investment. Bagi kat dia, Khazanah get the money, and then think something that you are able to develop a strategic industry that's missing. What more with all this stupid tariff being imposed to the world? There's so many other things we can do. Janganlah jual semua. Tapi kalau katakan nak pakai 20, 30, 40 billion, then kalau kita takut kita jual kat market, kita hilang that 20-30 strategic block, then you have all this. And all this fund like KWC, PNB, all that, they are ever ready to take 5%, 10% here, 5%, all this fund. And they enjoy the dividend is much more higher than even your MGS. So you invest. Meanwhile, Khazanah have that 30, 40, 50 billion up to how much they want to sell this strategic block. And you don't need to put an effort there because all this management is well intact in the respective companies. So you start thinking about how do we create a supply chain requirement for all the investors who come here. And they import, we give them notice, next 3 years, we are coming to be our suppliers. Or something like that. Or macam Datuk Noh Sari sebut, too big to fail. Ya betul lah, too big to fail. Yang kita kasi naikkan investment sampai jadi big, kenapa? Because macam Sapura. You end up PNB own 40%. Jadi bila company ada masalah, terpaksalah dia kena tolong. Sebab dia ada larger shareholders. 40%, 30%. Tapi kalau kita kontrol 5% atau 10%, bila company tak bagus, kita reduce lah kita punya holding. Jadi tak adalah parah-parah nak kena guna PM juga, yang kena maki PM juga. Bila nak tolong. tolonglah. Jadi PM pun come up with justification. Kita nak tolong ni, tak boleh. Ramai lagi masalah ni kita nak kena tolong. Jadi kalau kita tolong satu saja sektor, orang lain akan bising. So jadi ini sebenarnya akan menyebabkan kita membuat sesuatu gagal kerana kita letak kepada tempat yang tidak ada talent. I bagi you example. 1MDB, such a fantastic idea to invest. I believe if that investment is channeled through Khazanah, banyak benda boleh stop. Jadi pasal ada talent kat situ, melihat secara detail sesuatu investment tu dari segi profile risk, governance. Pasal dia dah biasa look at all these successful big companies and investment overseas, including kita punya domestic. So jadi tak ada lah successful. Ideas ni kena ada. Jadi kalau kita takut ideas, kita takut gagal, apa problem? So itu
Baik, terima kasih. No, tapi kalau Jogani sebut YMDB, selamatlah Ustaz. Saya atau Gobin sebut problem sikit. Yeah, no, sorry, you nak add on that?
No, saya cuba tadi cadangan saudara tu kata nak guna duit kementerian untuk beli syarikat tu, yang tu saya tak apa setuju lah kan. Maknanya duit perbendaharaan, duit daripada consolidated fund sepatutnya dibelanjakan untuk pembekalan perkhidmatan awam dan barangan awam lah kan. Kalau nak invest ni suruh Glix ataupun Dana yang invest lah. Jadi sebab tu perbezaan antara duit siapa dan belanja untuk apa, yang tu kena clear lah. Kalau walaupun Dana macam EPF dan sebagainya, dia untuk mendatangkan pulangan, it's okay dia buat. Tapi duit peruntukan MOF bagi dekat kementerian, tak payah pergi beli apa. Tak payahlah pergi beli apa. Buat investment, nanti jadi celaru dia punya apa, dia punya. Tapi masalah dia boleh diatasi kalau kita ada dana startup fund, venture funds untuk invest dalam, sebab apa?
Baik, saya ingat yang Joe sebut tadi tu, saya ingat pertinent untuk kita realise. Apa keperluan, ini prinsip yang dari dulu saya sebut, business of government doing too much business ni, ya. Jadi ada rasional untuk kita renung semula sama ada kita perlu divest, ada perlu pertahan apa yang disebut strategic national industry, tapi apakah perlu kita pegang yang equity begitu besar, apalagi kalau hadapi risiko. Risiko tu kan ditanggung oleh kerajaan, dan ni bukan satu ni, kita tak bincang agensi kerajaan macam FGV. Sekarang kita bayar 1 bilion, hampir 1 bilion satu tahun. Semua ini harus dia lah, digunung semula. We're doing it, tapi I think Joe bagi different dimension, additional, supaya kita juga fikir apa dia necessity, critical need for government to hold extensive shares, kalau boleh divest, and use the funds untuk sama ada startup ataupun other strategic industries, particularly in the supply side. As you know, like now, semiconductor, itu kita ekspor ke Amerika tu lebih dari 60%. Talking about hundreds of billions. Tetapi supply side tu masih lagi ada ruang untuk kita tingkatkan. Baik, soalan kedua. Yes.
Bismillah, Assalamualaikum. Nama saya Abdul Rahman, saya staff Khazanah. Saya ada satu soalan untuk panel. Tapi soalan saya ni ada mukadimah sikit and then baru tu soalan. So tadi Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim ada mention yang kita ni in the middle of gales of creative destruction. Mengingatkan saya kepada kata-kata seorang ilmuwan yang contemporary Joseph Schumpeter, iaitu Karl Polanyi, yang kata ekonomi satu ekonomi itu adalah hasil daripada keputusan yang diambil oleh masyarakat itu sendiri. So it's the economic embeddedness. Maksudnya ekonomi itu bukan just jatuh daripada langit macam an economic model. Kita banyak sebut pasal model economy di China kan. So China mengambil keputusan untuk bersusah payah selama berdekad-dekad, invest up to 40% of GDP to become the workshop of the world. Financial repression where dividend taklah lumayan mana sangat di China. Dan competition internally macam Dr. Nung Sari cakap tadi. So soalan saya to the panel is, Malaysia ni bersedia ke untuk bersusah payah and make difficult decision as a society untuk invest and transform, and rather than the 50% of the economy is consumption and 20% of the economy is investments, and mostly commodities and low-end E&E manufacturing, kita rombak the structure of our economy which will take more than 1 or 2 or 3 election cycles. So that's my question.
Thank you. You're not supposed to ask difficult questions. Alright, Nong, start dulu.
No, saya rasa ni terus terang lah. I think kita untuk saya kalau kita sebagai satu masyarakat, kerana apa yang berlaku adalah cerminan pada masyarakat lah. Kalau kita ada this aversion to failure, then we will never take risk. And then the supply of risk capital pun kurang, sebab kita, kalau saya ada duit, saya ada tanah 500 hektar, saya tak fikir saya buat kelapa sawit senang. Tapi kalau saya nak buat benda baru, makan apa benda ke, kulat ke apa benda ke, it's very risky. So we also punish failure too teruk sangat kan. Sitos, sikris, bankrupt. Kalau budak tu 25 tahun, 30 tahun dia buat berniaga, dia fail, orang nak bagi jadi menantu pun orang tak mahu kan. Jadi apa, we have a problem with that lah. So to answer your question, as a society we have to treat failure as a good thing. Kalau saya interview orang, lebih baik saya hire orang yang dah try 4 kali tapi fail daripada orang yang tak try langsung. Kalau nak berniaga lah. Kalau nak manage company, saya cari orang yang tak fail lah. Tapi kalau nak orang berniaga, saya cari orang yang fail lah. Baru saya bagi. Tapi kita because what we do is a reflection of underlying societal value lah. But society must also change lah. Tapi kadang-kadang orang politik suka kata tak boleh fail. Jadi signal tak over clear. Tapi saya rasa kita kena embrace failure. I think the reason why US is up there in terms of new technology, new businesses, is because they're willing to fail. And the Chinese are crazy because they're willing to compete and macam orang gila.
They punish those who fail.
Yeah.
Kalau tak boleh jawab, kita fikir yang tu. It's not simple.
Yeah.
I mean, here, kalau kita fail dan kita ada reason tu, not because of squandering money atau tipu dan sebagainya. Ini masalah. Kalau kita kata kita accept failure, tak apalah. Cannot. You must explain. Tapi kalau failure itu ada alasan yang menasabah, kita boleh bertahan. In fact, dalam pengalaman khazanah pun, dalam kerajaan pun, tapi kita tidak punish semua yang gagal. Baik, Jo.
Ya, saya nak ambil konteks contoh yang paling bagus yang Malaysia have done very well. You look at plantation industry. It started by smallholders. Tidak ada private company. Smallholders. But over the years, industri ini dia dah jadi satu industri yang sangat penting kepada negara. Kita ada 5.7 million hectares. I would say 85% of that is private sector. And then, what did they give to the government? Export value almost 100 over billion a year. Number 2, dia bagi tax kepada kerajaan, corporate tax, total about 18 billion. By all these big companies. So yang mana gagal dia datang ambil alih. Yang mana successful dia acquire yang weak. But at the end of the day, this industry alone, palm oil, dia boleh bagi employment 1 million. Export last year 114 million, 114 billion. And then tax 18. Apa tax kita tak cah kat dalam industri ni? Pertama, corporate tax. Nombor 2, sales tax. Nombor 3,
You are supposed to manage the industry, not defend them.
yeah. No. Sir, sometimes we need to defend the industry when they contribute big amount to the government. So, corporate tax they paid, dia panggil windfall tax dia bayar, sales tax bayar, income tax from the employment, 1 million people bayar.
Yang tax tu aku.
And then saya pula pergi hasut PM, pergi letak export tax 10% bayar, semua bayar. So apa yang saya nak tekankan, it's one industry. Kalau kita have many industry like that, then you imagine, mungkin kita ada 4 or 5 industry yang contribute very significant contribution to our country, and then kita become the world player. Kita tengok kat Korea tu, Samsung saja ada 143 small industry that benefit from that Samsung. So, that's all.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Saudara Rahman tu tanya, adakah kita bersedia macam China untuk bersusah payah berusaha? Sebenarnya saya fikir, sebenarnya kita tak ada, we don't have a choice. And the stark reality is we don't have a choice. And this is the thing, because saya pun, I go to Beijing, I go to US, I go to everywhere to look at investments, kan? And it's scary. Why I say it's scary is because kalau kita tengok, kita pergi Jepun, kita pergi Korea, atau pergi, we look at South Korea. Dulu kita main bola satu piala, kan? We were competing in the same league for football. I remember my father was telling me that Koreans came to Malaysia to learn from Malaysia. Satu ketika dulu. But all these countries are well ahead of where we are today. Whether it's Korea, whether it's Japan, whether it's Taiwan, and now China. So ketika tengok, everyone went through a lot of difficulty and susah payah. But that's why I say we do not have a choice. Lagi satu, kalau tengok tu, the current environment with the tariff war is accelerating a lot of structural changes in other countries such as the US and China. Europe is going to wake up. Southeast Asia is going to wake up. Everybody is going to wake up. And at that point in time, kalau kita tak kalau kita tak bersedia, we're going to go fall behind and behind and behind. And by the way, while we're falling behind kalau kita tak sedia, we have this thing called AI innovation. Now, I was in Beijing 3 weeks before, and I spoke to Professor David Lee from Tsinghua. He was telling me that he was afraid for China because AI tools can displace jobs today. Today, dah boleh. There's a lot of things that we can do today which is so much more advanced because of AI. And then orang kita, are we going to bersedia untuk belajar, go into STEM, to get our anak-anak muda kita to get, fasih dengan all this technology, or what are we going to do? So I think we do not have a choice actually. Kita tak ada pilihan. And what is it that we have to do? So these are the structural changes that we have to make, and it's going to be painful. Saya pun bukan suka J.D. Vance, Vice President US, but he himself called cheap labor as a disease, as a drug. And in a way, our country is also addicted to cheap labor. When it comes to manufacturing, when it comes to plantations, we're kind of addicted to that because it's the easy way out. Tak payah nak innovate, itu yang paling cepat. And I remember I used to be MD of a manufacturing company. Masa tu, this was more than 10 years ago. And masa tu baru naik the levy for foreign labor. So masa naik itu, the first thing, we can do robotics, we can automate. And then we calculated, still lagi murah kalau ambil daripada orang pada Nepal, bagi dia accommodation, manage them, and then it's still cheaper. So buat je tu. So that's what we did. Tak payah, because we didn't have any incentive to automate. So I think what I'm saying here is we do not have a choice. It's going to come, tapi just like training for the Olympics or training for any sports, we have to get fitter. But as we get fitter, kena ada program, kena ada gradual, kena bagi tools. So for our corporates, we have to make sure that we have the right tools, whether it's education, a very clear path of how things are going to get tougher. Kita nak tolong doang in terms of getting, I don't know, maybe the anak-anak muda kita yang might be underprivileged, making sure that they also have a leg up. So all these can be coordinated, but at the end of the day, we do have to choose this hard path of making it tougher for us and cope with increased labor costs and living wages, which is also beneficial for us, and cope for energy cost increases, which is tough, but the whole world is already experiencing that, and just chart the path and help everyone to go through it.
Jadi soalannya sama ada kita ada keupayaan atau bersedia untuk membuat perubahan yang agak lebih radikal seperti mana dilaksanakan oleh negara China. Soalnya, jawapannya tadi diberi kawan-kawan tadi, dia tidak ada pilihan satu. Tetapi tentunya pelaksanaan kita tidak mungkin sama dengan negara China. Sistem politiknya itu berbeza. Kita masih bergelut dengan suasana keputusan rakyat. Jadi harus ada perancangan, tapi penjelasan yang agak lebih rapi. Katakanlah bidang pendidikan, STEM. Itu kalau di sekolah menengah asrama penuh, sekolah 90%. Kita dah lakukan anjakan yang agak lebih berani. Ramai juga ibu bapa yang bantah, terutama yang golongan elit ini kan ada anak dia masuk. Tapi itu kesediaannya ada, baik mara sekolah menengah sains, asrama penuh umumnya. Tapi untuk sekolah lain, itu juga terikat dengan keupayaan, latihan bu dan sebagainya. Kemudian, macam kita kata AI di universities. Dan juga beberapa kurikulum dan disiplin baru. Kemudian AI dalam kerajaan dengan wujudnya Kementerian Digital. Itu pun berempas pulas juga untuk dapatkan satu strategi bersama dan menggesa dan memaksa jabatan kementerian keupayaan. Jadi baru KSN bawahnya menetapkan supaya semua pegawai ikuti. Tentunya tidak ada tahap-tahap kemahiran yang kita perlukan sepenuhnya, tetapi sekurang-kurangnya pendedahan itu penting. Itu yang kita katakan AI untuk rakyat. Kita lakukan dan begitu juga tentang penyasaran subsidi. Negara yang terus dengan pendekatan subsidi yang popular tetapi membebankan. Tidak ada negara yang bagi subsidi kepada 3,5 juta rakyat asing. Subsidi elektrik, subsidi minyak kepada orang yang paling kaya di Malaysia. Ini harus ada keberanian, tetapi kita juga akan berdepan dengan rakyat. Jadi harus ada kebijaksanaan, menerangkan. Masalahnya lagi, kita tengok. Sebab tu apa yang alasan yang saya dan kawan-kawan tekankan keperluan forum ilmuwan. Itu menentukan supaya naratif itu berubah. Kalau tidak balik-balik soal kaum tertekan, agama. Jadi saya tak kata kaum atau agama tidak penting. Tetapi naratif itu akan menyebabkan kita lesu. Ya. Dan kita tidak ke depan. Orang bicara sekarang soal energi, soal AI, soal pergulatan tadi. Kita bicara, lihat saja dalam pilihan-pilihan rakyat kecil menjadi kuning. Kita jual negeri kepada China. Ataupun ya hal-hal yang sebenarnya melelahkan. Jadi betul dari segi apa kita theoretical construct-nya, ya, betul kita kena bawa satu pendekatan baru dan perubahan. Tapi saya yakin kalau ada semangat perubahan ini berlaku di kalangan rakyat, terutama rakyat ini disebut elemen sedar dalam masyarakat. Jadi harus ada susah. Dan ini bukan tanggungjawab sebahagian orang politik kita pergi, banyak orang silap. You nak buat perubahan ini, it's our own survival. We will lose out. Ya. Yang saya duk lihat. Yang kita boleh ikhtiar, orang kata okey, pasaran baru. Ya. Dulu bila kita nak anjur masuk BRICS itu pun bukan mudah sebenarnya. Ya. Saya nak pergi jumpa Putin di Vladivostok pun tidak mudah juga. But we have to take certain firm decisions. Then now we open up, now we realize sebenarnya over dependency on established traditional markets is not healthy anymore. Jadi itu yang kita buka. Dan alhamdulillah sedikit sebanyak kejayaan ada. Kemudian di ASEAN sebenarnya kita tidak tekankan soal traditional notion of a peaceful ASEAN centrality, but we're also talking about intra-ASEAN trade, investment, comparative advantage. These issues now being addressed. Jadi ada baiknya bila ada gugatan asakan daripada luar, then we realize ASEAN merayu supaya FTA dengan EU ditandatangani. EU menyulitkan, tidak dan enggan sama sekali. Bila berlaku saja tarif ini, EU sekarang minta kita percepatkan proses itu. Jadi kita harus laju dalam keadaan macam ini. Jadi kita lihat umpamanya semalam 2 hari yang lalu Xi Jinping datang. Dan dia tidak mudah sebenarnya. Jadi kita pun ada risiko kebetulan datang dalam keadaan China itu menjadi tumpuan dan ke Malaysia pula. Jadi ada beberapa kelonggaran yang diberikan. Sangat baik dan sangat banyak. Dan saya alhamdulillah sangat senang dengan sikap dia dan kesediaan dia untuk beri kerjasama. Apa dia cabarannya? Saya kata, we cannot proceed and expect excellent results if the pace of negotiations ataupun action is still the same bureaucratic pattern. You know, Joe Noh here, siapa Gobin ada, Zamri ada. Even the MOUs, you know, after all we're dealing with China, banyak teliti, dia telan kita dan sebagainya. So tough. I had to really push the agenda forward to say no. Unless there are really strong, compelling reason why you should not, you don't give me a negative answer. So finally we got 32 of MOUs. Because the Chinese also, they are also aware of our concerns. For example, I talk about Madani, I talk about civilization, I talk about Islam, Confucianism. Can you imagine Xi Jinping would respond to say yes? Because in line and consistent with the civilizational dialogue that I proposed, so that, now that Anwar wants Islam and Confucianism, we will support that. Jadi, then kita kena take up. Dan sebagai contoh lah, because maknanya kesediaan tu. Sebab tu saya ambil pendekatan yang sangat positif. Now I have to go again to Russia and some of this meeting, which is of course extremely exasperating, tiring, but then it's important. New markets, new technology, but the speed and pace must be really fast. Sebab itu bila saya cadangkan AI faculty tu, saya kata kalau tubuh faculty, kalau macam cara lama, bawa faculty, kemudian board of studies, kemudian senate, kemudian pergi ke Kementerian Pendidikan Tinggi dan dapat approval, dan kita it will not work. Consider done. So kita announce dalam budget, we're giving 20 million, done. Jalan. And they did, congratulations, 4 bulan. And then satu lagi kita identify, for example macam quantum computing yang UPM. Itu kita bukan dapat daripada a standard format from Academy of Science or Research. Tak, kebetulan somebody send and saya baca-baca, kita macam mana UPM doing something really great and I don't know, and none of us quite aware. And so kita panggil dia, dan kita bagi tahu support. Maknanya ada keupayaan dan kapasiti kita yang di dalam domestic tetapi ataupun in centers or institutions or universities tapi yang kita tidak ada maklumat. Jadi kalau kata this leap is when you identify and move forward. I just hope I don't know. I mean, saya pun quite impatient lah hal ni. I'm like you, cuma umur aja beza. Okay, next. Sorry. Yes.
Hi, my name is Rex. I'm from FMT. My question is, since today we are talking about capacity building and also about retaining talent, and in Malaysia that brain drain is still an issue. So just wondering that if the government or the GLIC have any initiative to develop talent at the same time also retain them. And also I'd like to pay my respect to the late Tun Abdullah Badawi, because it was under him that the Yayasan Khazanah Scholarship, which is one of the colorblind scholarships, were initiated. Thank you.
Right.
Kalau dari segi initiatives memang it's not just Khazanah, but I think
Summarize the question.
okay, soalan dia ditanya pasal the initiatives for capacity building and also retaining talent. And of course dia paid a tribute to arwah Pak Lah for starting Yayasan Khazanah, which started the scholarships. I think when it comes to capacity building, just now I was saying that one of the initiatives for Khazanah in trying to create an environment of a nation that creates and raising the floor is about capacity building. Now, I can mention what Khazanah is doing, but it's not just Khazanah. I think banyak lagi institusi, whether GLICs ke ataupun corporates, everybody is doing it. So, for example, we have a K-Youth program where we're working with universities to get placements and in the future jobs, looking at all the jobs of the future. So we're actually helping them transition. We've got scholarships. We've actually invested in 42 Malaysia that helps peer-to-peer coding. We've invested in Asia Pacific University that has a program for computer engineers and other engineers as well. So this is non-stop. We're actually looking at all opportunities, not just, bukannya kita nak buat sendiri lah. Kalau ada institutions of higher learning or private, we will try to bring them to come to Malaysia to actually create that environment for capacity building. And not just that, it's also for the underprivileged as well. So we're looking at our Hasanah, I think, Puan Siti kat sini, looking at all the other areas and see in terms of how we can actually give them an income, whether it's sewing, creative arts, etc. So banyak yang kita buat. As far as retaining talent, and this is where the talent retention really depends on the success of the local economy. And we have to innovate, create a product such as it's actually quite good, and the market will say for itself. You know, I don't think there's any intervention required for this apart from making sure that our companies are successful in the economy, and when they are, they will be paid handsomely. So let competition drive that.
Joe.
I'm always for capacity building. I'm always for development of talents. But having talents and capacity building, but we need that must have an opportunity for them to come back and to serve the country. And in order to do that, then the country must be ready with that talent yang ada kat luar ni, that when they come back, they can have that experience yang dia ada acquire. You know, we have 2 million diaspora. 20% are all the top level executive kat luar. And very, very good. But sometimes when they come back, when they met me, they said, you know, there's no job that commensurate with their punya experience and talent. So that's the reason why I always want to see the development of economy is actually can ultimately absorb them into our system.
Yeah, no?
No, that's why I'm going to repeat the same thing. Unless we do new things that requires new talent, and those new things are globally or tak payah globally lah, regionally competitive, then that's the only way we can change the structure of the labour market lah. Sekarang ni Datuk Seri, kalau ada business pun, kalau tak export, kita duk jual sama sendiri, kita punya per capita household income median is about tak sampai 7,000. Jadi kalau business sekadar nak jual dekat pasaran tempatan where the median household income is about 7,000, there's only so much you can do. And kalau orang kalau kata Datuk Jo dia businessman, orang kata business tak banyak gaji mahal, tapi kalau setakat nak bisnes dekat sini ya, dia tak boleh bayar gaji mahal, dia kena
I'm no more businessman, I'm a politician.
Okay. so actually that's why we have to be able to create new business that are regionally competitive lah. If we regionally competitive, then actually the business can pay more. You see, one pushback that the Chinese told the Americans is actually, my middle class is bigger than 300 million your population. So that is the kind of tapi kita 34 juta tu sendiri, kita 34 juta kecil, tapi kalau kita boleh jual kat Indonesia, dia punya 10% is about the whole country population. So dia punya T10 is bigger than as big as our population. So we should have firms who are able to sell to market yang income higher than our income. Otherwise we will never solve that problem of banyak gaji mahal yang lebih tinggi daripada sekarang.
Right.
Assalamualaikum, saya Yasir. Soalan saya berkaitan dengan strategic terms yang kita gunakan malam ini agak banyak kali. Yang mana saya rasa perlukan ada maybe a new meaning of the strategy lah. Sebab in terms of investment, I think for energy transition it is strategic. National semiconductor strategic. AI digital transformation is strategic. But then tadi Dr. Nong sebut pasal fashion, I don't think that is aligned with the national strategy lah. But then I think recently Datuk Seri mentioned about APG, ASEAN Power Grid. I think if we invest on interconnection technology, submarine cables, it is strategic. You know, because of the RE punya teknologi sekarang tengah berkembang pesat. Kita tengok IRENA punya study pun cakap pasal investment on RE is more than half of the investment, more than 3 trillions of investment worldwide. I think that one we can invest because it is strategic for interconnection to interconnect all the renewables energy and interdependency among the region. I think this is evident in Euro and also dekat sini juga kita tengah saya rasa ada usaha yang kuat. Dan saya dekat strategi punya definition ni juga saya fikir untuk mengelakkan adanya kecurangan dalam penyalahgunaan strategi ni, maka perlu ada strict governance so that the decision on the strategy tu the governance is in good governance and true to the North Star of our country lah. Thank you, Datuk Seri.
That's it. You?
I agree. I think whatever that you suggest is something that we need to look. Not only kita punya roadmaps, is actually how do we implement this. This is all what you have said. I think I fully agree.
No?
Yeah, I think kadang-kadang kita belabor the point teruk sangat kan, strategic, tactical apa semua ni. Actually just do it lah. You know, I met this couple Datuk Seri yang buat Inside Scoop kan, yang buat aiskrim Inside Scoop tu. Actually muda je, 30 lebih couple. You know, kalau tanya saya, tu saya bukan businessman lah. Nak lawan dengan Häagen-Dazs, Baskin Robbins dengan apa semua, tapi they actually did it and very successful. So here we are talking like this, but last year 50 over firms got listed in bursa. That means 50 lebih company berjaya menghasilkan perkhidmatan dan produk yang boleh dapat listing di pasaran. So actually okay, it's important to refine strategic, non-strategic, whatever, but I think we should just do it lah, whatever it is. Yeah.
Sebenarnya memang betul lah kalau kita nak define strategic kan, you tanya soalan tu kepada 100 orang, 100 jawapan apa? Semua lain-lain. So what we did in Khazanah was we just did away with strategic, tak ada strategic fund. So yang pentingnya kita tengok objektif lah. What are the enablers? What are the enablers in order to create an environment for the country? And macam Dr. Min cakap lah, kita buat je lah. Now, when it comes to investment, I think one thing that we're doing now is we're crowding in, get orang yang ada expertise to buat. Tapi what is considered important for us is to create the ecosystem that allows for innovation. So kita fokus on that lah. Tapi it helps us by just focusing on the objective and just do it.
Baik, terima kasih banyak. Nampak banyak idea-idea dan pandangan yang boleh kita digest. Tapi yang pentingnya ialah keupayaan semua pihak. Bukan saja dalam konteks hari ini kita bincang pasal khazanah GLIC saja ataupun agensi kerajaan atau kerajaan, tapi ke semua pihak yang kita sepakati apa dia. Kalau Malaysia nak jadi negara maju dalam kerangka madani ini, mesti ada lonjakan, mesti ada quantum leap. Dia tidak boleh dalam kadar perubahan biasa. Apa-apa pun perubahan bila dia cepat, dia akan mengundang masalah. Sama ada ketegangan politik atau sosial, tetapi kalau kita tanya diri kita, adakah tidak pilihan? Jawabnya tidak. Kalau tidak ada pilihan, then brace ourselves and membujur lalu, melentang, patah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.